welcome to Unstuck TV, where we normally bring in a guest who has overcome difficult circumstances and talk about how they've overcome. But today's show is a little bit different in that we're kind of in a situation where our entire city has faced difficult circumstances this week. So we're just going to kind of share a little bit of our experiences with that and hopefully some tips to get us unstuck and moving again. So, Cheryl, how was your week?
Well, with that introduction, I kind of have to say it was terrible. It was mixed. I would say there's a lot of good happening right now if you choose to look at that. I know we both spent most of Monday standing online trying to give blood. I did not spend most of Monday. I went, realized it was not a good use of my time, and decided I would go back when there was less craziness. But when you're looking at the good that's come out of all of this insanity, it's heartwarming.
So tell us about the good that you saw.
Well, I mean, I woke up Monday morning. I had gone to sleep early, which was good because the last 2 nights I had actually been at concerts at T-Mobile. And I woke up to about 8 or 10 text messages from family and friends that lived outside of Vegas asking if I was okay. And I texted a few of them back and I said, yes, I am, and I have no idea why everybody is asking me this. And I jumped on Facebook because that's where most of us get our news at this point. And I saw what had happened, and I think my own personal steps, as well as most people, was to go, okay, this is terrible, what can I do now? And just feeling like you have some of that control and like it hasn't all been taken away, and how can I help? What can I do? You know, how do I reach out? So yeah, reached out to a bunch of friends just to make sure that I knew I had a few country music fans in my life, and just wanted to make sure that they were okay and safe. And then I got dressed and put on my big girl pants because I'm very afraid of needles. and went down to the blood bank. And
your pants wouldn't help you. It's actually taken out of your arm.
Is it? Oh, that's why the last time was so weird. So, but no, it's just great. I'm very involved with Monday's Dark and that community, and seeing them all pull together, and dropped off some donations there in the evening, and just so many people working together, and it was really cool. I have this image of the truck that they were loading, and they just had an assembly line just handing the stuff over to the next person, and so that's kind of what I'm been trying to focus on this whole time.
Yeah. So I was up late Sunday night working on a proposal. And same thing, I saw Facebook going off and people were marking themselves safe. I'm like, what's going on? Turned on the news, and that's when I saw the news that there were 2 dead, 20 injured. Mm-hmm. And this is a concert. I went to this concert 2 years ago. It was a blast. I wanted to go again this year, but I was out of town until Friday, and tickets sell out right away. And so I remember, telling my wife, like, I'd love to go to this concert. So when I saw that, I woke her up. I'm like, you wouldn't believe this. There's 2 people dead and 20 injured. And then I just sat there until probably 4:30 in the morning just watching, and the numbers just rose. And so when I woke up the next morning, my first thought was, I have to do something. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I went, and I was in line by 9:30 a.m. to give blood. And about 6 o'clock, I made it inside the building. And I was about the 10th person that they told they couldn't take it from. And so they put my name on a list and gave me a card to come back. I went back the next day at about 10 a.m. They told me to come back at 6. So I got there at about 5:30 and finally took blood at about 9:30 at night. So, almost 2 entire days spent. But it was amazing. There were people that the place was packed.
It was.
And nobody was complaining. Nobody was leaving.
Yep. Handing out snacks.
I had friends calling me and texting me, I want to bring by food and water. I'm like, don't even bother. They're shipping stuff out of here because there was so much stuff. And I've talked to several people that are just looking for ways to serve, and there's just, everything's done. Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing. So.
Yeah, it's been a very emotional week, and I think just very, very odd. I think there's just a really weird energy here, and I don't know. It's weird because, you're driving on like Summerlin Parkway or whatever, and everything's the same. It's not like we dealt with a hurricane or any of those things that are happening where everything is turned upside down. It looks normal, but there's still this weirdness in the air.
Yeah. I've driven by the site several times since, including this morning. And so it is touching to see the monuments and things that are out there. The FBI was on top of the building today, walking around, still looking for stuff. And I guess the reason for us to talk about it is because, we talk about getting unstuck and being able to move on after a tragedy and being able to deal with difficult circumstances. So here we are faced with, a difficult so many people faced with this circumstance. And I just feel like have like some, I don't want to say an obligation, but a moral duty to talk about the things that we know that can possibly help others. So I think probably the most important thing I would say at this point is that, there's a grieving process that still has to take place, that to try not to move forward too fast, take some time and acknowledge what has actually happened.
And don't do it alone. I think in times like this, a lot of people kind of go inward and feel like they're either being weak or emotional or something like that, to reach out and ask for help from people. And whether it's just leaning on your friends and family or getting professional help or however you need to do it, you're going to deal with these feelings eventually. Right. You might as well do it now.
And you can see that you don't need to do it alone. There's thousands of people that would...
And dogs.
And dogs that would like to. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there are people that want to help that don't know how they can. So, call a friend. Talk about it. Don't be afraid to talk about it, whether you were there or not. There's a lot of people that have had emotional responses that were not even there or didn't know anybody. Just to see it unfold is traumatizing. So, definitely reach out, because you're not only getting help, but you're helping somebody else, because that's kind of how we're wired. We need to be able to help others in order to process our own.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why we're seeing such an outpouring of support with the blood and the donations and all of that, because we feel we have to help.
Right.
And what I'm hoping to see from this, and I'm going to throw it out there, is I'm hoping for people to realize that the need for help doesn't stop in 2 weeks or, on Friday or whatever it is, that there's still so much that can be done in this city, whether it has to do with this event or not. I chose not to stay on that line and give blood. And I realized, what? I've already faced my fear of needles, and I was going to go do this. Now I'm going to go do it in a month or two, because they always need blood.
Yeah. I stayed, not because my blood was so important, because, it's so pure. Like nuts.
Right.
I stayed because that sense of community was there.
Yeah.
And that I felt like being a part of that made me a part of something bigger. And I while I was standing there, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to get, a pint of blood out of me, versus I could be on the strip helping in some other way. But what I realized was that just being there, just the presence, was actually helping people. And, just not my presence, just the fact that there were so many people there.
It was all you, John.
Yeah. And it was a weird feeling too. There were thousands of people standing there, and it was kind of somber. It wasn't like a real social event, but I did meet two people that I had already been Facebook friends with, but had never met face to face, that recognized me. And so there's just something about being present, that was really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Helpful for me, hopefully for others. So.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm going to bring up the dogs, because I tried to bring one today and he said no.
Yeah.
But that's actually what got me, and not surprising, obviously, because I'm the animal nut. But I went through Facebook the other day and I saw that therapy dogs from all over the country had been immobilized and had come out here to support the victims and the community as a whole. And that's when I lost it.
Yeah.
It was hard enough seeing everything that's gone on, and then just seeing this army of golden retrievers that was just ready to be there and be cried into.
It's a good thing you weren't there with me when the German Shepherd and Great Dane almost fought in the parking lot, but that was
I didn't.
kind of emotional moment of
Yeah.
the day, I guess, standing here watching two dogs ready to go at it. But anyway, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about the process of getting unstuck after this moment.